Today, Bitcoin soars as investors hope a spot ETF is just around the corner. And Mike Belshe of BitGo reacts to that rally and his expectations for spot ETFs here in the US. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Tanea McKeel. It's been a huge 24 hours for the crypto market, with Bitcoin soaring nearly 9% before noon Eastern and breaking the $35,000 mark at its peak for the first time since May 2022. Ether jumped 6%, and crypto companies over on Wall Street got in on the action this morning as well. Coinbase's stock was up 9.5% by midday to around $84. Now, this latest rally is an extension of Bitcoin's more muted climb over the past several days as excitement around the possibility of a spot ETF builds and investors seek safe assets like gold. It could also be fueled in part by investors who were betting against the crypto asset and scrambling to cover short positions, in other words, by a short squeeze. Bitcoin saw $275 million in short liquidations on Sunday, followed by another $100 million on Monday, according to crypto data provider CoinGlass. The Grayscale Bitcoin Trust also got a boost after a ruling by a federal appeals court took effect, directing the SEC to review Grayscale's proposal to convert the trust into an ETF. That's not the only proposal getting attention right now. There's also growing optimism that ETFs from BlackRock and ARK could be nearing approval too. Remember, the SEC has until January to accept or deny several of these applications sitting before it, and investors are betting that at least one will get the go-ahead. To hear more about the current rally and the hope around a spot Bitcoin ETF getting approved here in the States, I spoke to Mike Belshe, the CEO of crypto custodian BitGo. All right, Mike, thank you so much for joining us on Crypto World again today. A really big move from Bitcoin, the first 10% move that we've seen since March during its banking crisis-fueled rally. What do you make of it?
Well, I think a lot of the premise of Bitcoin is coming true. People are excited about kind of Bitcoin's impact and potential in the world. I think also people are realizing a little bit that, look, 92% of Bitcoin has already been mined. In terms of scarce assets in a time like these, when you've got, kind of a government spending that's a bit out of control, Bitcoin's looking like, as Larry Fink puts it, a flight to quality.
This catalyst right now, this potential Bitcoin ETF, we had Mike Novogratz on our air recently saying that he thought it could come by the end of this year. Others saying at latest by Q2 of 2024. I'm not here to ask you about a prediction, but it really is and has been such a positive catalyst for the market. What are the biggest headwinds right now?
Look, I think we're just waiting for the SEC to go through its process at this point. I think the resistance has been there, and the courts have shut it down in the case of the GBTC matter, and the other places where the SEC has been negative on crypto and digital assets have also been shut down. And so all of this, I think, is leading very positively. But remember, we now have a BlackRock ETF application, and BlackRock, these guys know ETFs. They've been doing it longer than anybody. I don't know how many applications they have, but somewhere in the 500 range, and they've only ever had one rejected. So, they don't take this lightheartedly. They are the largest asset manager in the world, bar none. And I think at this point, we know that the ETF comes through. BlackRock knows how to do it. The partners they're working with know how to do it. The SEC has been told, look, it's ready, guys. It's time to go. So it's going to happen.
When it happens, how do you see the price responding? I mean, do you see the market kind of rocketing higher to new all-time highs, or are we still held back by things like the rate environment or, the uncertainty happening because of the war between Israel and Hamas?
Look, I think both of those things collude together to drive the Bitcoin price even higher. So on the ETF side first, ETFs make access to Bitcoin so much easier for everybody that's looking for kind of a traditional market participation. All of a sudden, RIAs that have really kind of struggled about how would they participate directly can just go to the broker and just buy it like any other product. They don't have to take any extra liabilities. It kind of fits within their existing product line. So we're definitely going to see significant increased demand. And people are guessing as to how much that's going to be. There's a number of ways to slice and dice it. Novogratz's Galaxy put out a report this morning. They estimated that something like 15 billion over the first year would come in. I actually think it's going to be higher than that, but we'll see. And then you can do, once you know kind of what the volume you think is going to come in, you can start to do some comparisons to other asset classes and say like, well, what does that influx of demand tend to do to prices? And the Galaxy report estimates maybe a 75% prediction in Bitcoin increase in Bitcoin prices solely due to the ETF in the next couple of years. I think it's going to be a little higher than that because I think the demand is stronger. And then when you overlay the economic climate of the United States and frankly the world stage, we're seeing a real problem for the dollar. So it used to be that people are like, you should put 1 or 2% of your net worth into Bitcoin. Nowadays, people are saying, you know what, you should put 5 or 6% of your net worth into Bitcoin. And the same premise is true, which is it's an asymmetric upside to downside. Look, obviously only invest what you can afford to put in. But, frankly, the US dollar is now a tax. So we'll see what happens there. It is true that interest rates being higher, some people will feel like, hey, I can just put it into T-bills. And maybe I get a risk-free, 5% that way. But I think in general, the bigger money is looking for something that's going to outpace inflation.
All right. So if this is the trajectory, what does that mean for the custody business? And what are you guys at BitGo doing to kind of get all your ducks in a row for whatever it is that happens over the next 6 months?
Right. Well, I mean, first off, obviously the ETFs are going to need custody, and some of those are going to be using BitGo. So, there's an indirect goodness there. The second thing, though, I think is more interesting on the technical side, and for those of us that are fighting for decentralization, is figuring out, okay, how do we make sure that this asset is really secure for the future? And today, a large set of wallets are $1 billion in size, but the future wallets are going to be $1 trillion in size. So we are preparing at BitGo now for what do we have to do to our security infrastructure today to prepare for the case where Bitcoin is $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a coin, and we've now got $1 trillion wallets that we have to protect. We are up to the challenge. We'll get there. Part of the solution, by the way, is continuing to decentralize and make sure that there's not any single party, any single point of failure that could be hacked.
So is it all optimism through the end of the year, or is there anything that gives you pause between now and, say, the new year?
I think we're going to see a ride up a little bit. I think people are being a little bit exuberant at the moment. So probably there's some sort of pullback, maybe around the end of the year. And then, once the ETFs do get approved, I think we're going to start seeing significant inflows. So I think we'll see a pretty good market after that.
Okay, that's all for Crypto World today. We'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.